what's up, Hoophead Nation, and welcome to another episode of Buzzer Beaters. I'm Eddie Aparicio, and this is my co-host, Anta Claus. What's up, Anta Claus?
Yes, very sprightness to all, and to all a good sprite.
I love it, dude. I love it, man. Would you audition for that commercial, bro? You didn't get it?
I should. This is the Warriors edition, though. The Warriors edition of Sprite.
But anyway, I'm Eddie Aparicio, and this is my co-host, Antoine Claus, and we are Buzzer Beaters, and we are brought to you by grumblingsmedia.com. You can find us at grumblingsmedia.com as well as wherever you find your podcasts. We are here to talk about NBA because we are a podcast dedicated to the NBA, and we go about 45 minutes. We're going to go ahead and cover the things that we want to cover this week are essentially the NBA Cup just finished, right? Congratulations to the Knicks. The Knicks took out the San Antonio Spurs. And the Spurs actually had taken out the Oklahoma City Thunder just a few days prior to that. So we're going to talk about those two teams in particular. We're going to take a walk around the NBA, talk about some of the hot teams, the teams that are not so cold and from each conference. And then we're going to go ahead and dovetail into a weekly Warriors segment that we cover, the Warriors every week. That's why we're all dressed in our Warriors garb. We talk about that stuff. But one thing that we're going to do differently this week that we haven't done is that we're going to go ahead and take a look at revisit our Player Greatness Index, our PGI.
All right.
And we're going to go ahead and look at some of the main guys who are essentially being looked at for MVP as well as Rookie of the Year, and we're going to go ahead and compare, what is being projected to what our PGI index says who should be the guys that should be the Rookie of the Year or the MVP candidate. We're going to talk about that as well. Before I get into it, bro, what's going on with you? I know the holidays around the corner, bro.
Anything man.
Exciting in your world, bro?
Nah, just trying to get into the spirit of Christmas, and just the shopping. For anyone that even cares, my favorite holiday is Thanksgiving. It's my favorite holiday. And the reason it's my favorite holiday is because you get together with family and you don't got to buy squat.
Yeah.
And not that I'm cheap, but
dude, we're all on a budget. When you live in California, you're in a budget, bro.
Yeah, but it's not even that. It's just the pressure of trying to figure out what people like and what they don't like. And should I get them a gift card? And then they think you didn't put any effort into it. And all of that nonsense, and I hate all of that nonsense.
I hear you, bro.
I just don't like it. If I knew what to get everyone, exactly what to get, then I would do it. But it's never that easy.
There's a lot of pressure during this time.
It's a lot of pressure.
You got Christmas cards. If you send it, my wife's on top of it. She sent it out. I'm sure you already got it, right?
Yep. Yes, we did. And you should be getting yours soon. So.
Yeah. But that's it's all that pressure to get everything's on a time crunch, right? Everyone's still got to work. You got to go buy gifts by a certain time. You got to send out your Christmas cards by a certain time, right? Yeah. And if you're planning a party, which I know you are doing, bro, it's you have to plan for all that, dude. So it's a lot of pressure during these holidays. And then when the day comes, it's like, oh man, it's over. And like, dang, that's a lot of planning for just a few hours.
Yeah, just for a couple hours. And I don't know about your house, but in my house we celebrate the 24th, not the 25th, right?
We do. But my in-laws do the 24th, and then traditionally my mom used to go ahead and celebrate the 25th.
Okay, so that kind of I guess works out, or historically has worked out with your family one side, which
exactly.
We celebrate 24th, and my wife's family's always celebrated 25th, so it's always kind of worked out.
Right on, man. And I told you before this, but for the audience, so my mom recently passed away. Both of our moms passed away, almost 4 years ago. Believe it or not, it's crazy, right? Yep. Anyway, so my mom's house, we're getting it ready for selling it, right? In the spring, because right now, if you try and sell it, you're not going to get much money for it. But it's in San Francisco, so it's kind of going to be part of my retirement plan here. But we're getting it ready to sell, and my wife came up with a really good idea of celebrating our last Christmas at the house before we sell it. So we're going to go ahead and sell that. We're going to get pupusas, right? And
there you go.
In memory of my mom's heritage, El Salvador. So we're going to go ahead and get some pupusas and just have a few, glasses of wine. And unfortunately, bro, I can't partake. I can't partake in the festivities because, as you know, dude, I've been dealing with something, and the audience doesn't know anything about this, but I'll go ahead and make everybody aware of what happened to me, man. So in August, I went to Mexico, right? And first time I ever went to the hometown of my in-laws where they were both born and raised and where they met, right? Really nice small little pueblo in right outside of Guadalajara. And I got bit by some kind of insect. Don't know if it was a mite, a mosquito. It didn't look like a mosquito, but it bit me, right?
Yeah.
And the next day, dude, I had a fever. My stomach was all in knots. I thought that was regular, like when you go to Mexico, it's the normal stuff that happens, right?
Yeah.
And then like a day later, after that, I had a fever, and then I had the aches, in my certain joints, and then I'm thinking, oh crap, I'm getting gout out here, right?
Yep.
So I come back home. This is in August. Come back home a month later. Everything kind of subsided, but it was still kind of there. And that's all of a sudden it happened again. And I'm thinking, crap, I got gout, right? But this one was like really intense. Like it went to 10 joints, right? And then my muscles started aching. I'm like, this feels different, right? So anyway, I went to go to a doctor who treated me for Lyme disease. And, some of you already know this. That's the reason why this part of my face doesn't work very well, because I have permanent Bell's palsy that was caused by Lyme disease. Anyway, my Lyme doctor suggested I go ahead and get tested for certain, bacteria that can cause this. Sure enough, I came back positive for something that's called rickettsia, right? And rickettsia can attack joints. It's a pretty serious thing, man. And I've been on meds, dude, for 3 weeks now. I've been on doxycycline for 3 weeks. I have a whole nother week to go. That's why I can't partake in the festivities, right? But dude, this thing was no joke. I couldn't walk. I couldn't walk for like a week and a half. I had crutches around my house. Dude, my wife was in Mexico for a week, and dude, I couldn't do anything, dude. I couldn't freaking pick up anything because I was in crutches. I had to order Uber Eats. I had to go ahead and get Instacart to get stuff, And dude, for me to watch me go to that door and pick it up and crutch it back, dude, I was like a spectacle, bro. But anyway, that's what I've been dealing with. I can't partake in festivities.
Well, you can eat. You can eat. You just can't drink.
But I can't have a few cocktails, which I'm in dire need of a few right now, bro, because of what I've been going through, man. But I can't.
Old fashioned or a Manhattan. Eddie needs a Manhattan.
Exactly. But dude, but believe it or not, since August, I'm still dealing with this. I got aches still, but it's going away and subsiding, right? But thankfully it is. But this is a serious thing, because I don't know if you heard of Rocky Mountain spotted fever.
Yes,
but
I've heard of it. Yeah.
This particular bacteria that I have, there's a certain genus or genome, whatever you call it, a variation of what I have, a strand that causes Rocky Mountain spotted fever, and that's serious. You can die from it. Bro. So, but anyway, bro, enough of our freaking old man health talk, right?
Enough of our health.
Yeah, exactly. Let's get into the NBA. All right, so this is the week where the NBA Cup just happened, right? The United Emirates NBA Cup, and we and the New York Knicks got crowned. And dude, I got to tell you, it was a damn good game. I don't know if you watched it, but that was a really good back and forth game. And Wembanyama and the Spurs had taken out the defending champs in the Oklahoma City Thunder in a very impressive fashion, with Wembanyama coming off the bench, dude. All right, he came off the bench, and I'm like, oh my god, this team is like legit. I mean, and then I thought this is going to be a cakewalk. They're going to take out the Knicks, and they were ahead by like 10 points. For a period of time, then the Knicks came roaring back and ended up winning that game in impressive fashion. Jalen Brunson was crowned as the MVP of the Cup. What's interesting enough is that they went ahead and won the Cup, but they're not going to hang the banner. I don't know if you heard this, but the Knicks are not going to hang the banner, and that's kind of interesting. Yeah.
Well, I think there's a little bit of jinx there. I don't think they want to ruin the banner they do want to hang up. But going back, last week you had asked me about the Spurs. Yeah. And whether I thought they were a threat to win the championship, and I was like, no, it's a year early, right? Right. And then they beat the Thunder, and I'm like, maybe I was talking out of my bunghole, and as I usually do, and I'm like, And then I watched the Knicks, and then that made me realize, they're still young, they're still, they're still trying to figure things out, and that's exactly why I don't think they can do it, right? Just because I think they need a little more experience. They're still a little young. A lot of their play. I mean, Stephon Castle was playing really good in that game. Wembanyama. Yeah. I thought they didn't feed into him as much as they should have in those last.
Wembanyama, you mean?
Yeah, Wembanyama. They weren't playing into him as much as I thought they could. But overall was a really good game. And then the Knicks caught fire at the end, and that was that. So we'll see. But it was a very impressive win over the Thunder. I was very impressed because it was a close game throughout. They didn't lose their composure. They kept going and very impressive game. Very impressive.
Hey, and the Thunder have only lost 2 games. They're 24-2. All right.
Yes.
They're on a path right now to still contend for that 73-9 Warriors record that was established a few years back. So but anyway, so congratulations to the Knicks for winning the NBA Cup. let's go ahead and stay in the East, man.
Spike Lee's got Spike Lee's got a banner, not the banner he wants, but he's got
right. Exactly. So, but anyway, these are some of the teams that I wanted to highlight here in the East. We're going to go ahead and take a walk around the NBA, and we're going to focus on the East first. Then we'll go to the West. But if you look at, these are the teams that are hot. They're all 7-3. The Knicks, the Pistons, and believe it or not, the Celtics.
Yes.
Okay. Now, dude, we have been talking a little bit about the Celtics. Should we be taking this team seriously now, man? I mean, they are climbing up the ranks, and you can see the teams below in white right there. This is Raptors, Cavs, Bucks, and Heat. They're all cold. These teams have all gone 4-6 or 3-7 in the last 10. Right now, The first question I'm gonna ask you, bro, are the Celtics? Should we take the Celtics more seriously?
So yes, in short, yes, they're playing a lot better than even I mentioned last week.
Right.
They had a couple of wins in there against the Wizards. A competitive game against the Raptors. They did beat the Knicks in that stretch of 7-3. So one of the wins is against the Knicks, is against the Cavaliers. They beat the Pistons in that stretch as well. If I'm doing my math right. So yeah, I mean, based on the teams they're beating, and they're not they're not an inexperienced team. They know what they're doing. They've got their organization together, and yeah, I mean, I think we need to start considering them to be taken more seriously. I don't know if they'll stay this hot. I mean, they're a hard team to judge. And
dude, Jaylen Brown's playing out of his mind, though, bro. That's the thing. He's like an MVP candidate right now, man.
I agree. And if you recall back when the Warriors beat them in the championship, the talk the next season was whether or not Jaylen Brown and Tatum could play together.
Right.
They're kind of both similar players, and they're kind of take away from each other, and they figured it out, and they ended up winning. But this with Tatum out is really kind of allowing Brown to kind of stretch his wings and be the man without anybody kind of getting in his way. And so this is going to be really, really interesting on how far he can take it, because kind of hot stove type question, if they go on to get to the finals, maybe not even win the finals, but get to the finals or get to the Eastern Conference, does that make one of them expendable, Brown or Tatum?
Well, we all know when the Celtics did win the championship, right? That it wasn't Tatum who won the MVP.
Yes,
it was Jaylen Brown.
It was Jaylen Brown. Right? Yes,
and Jaylen Brown's got a little junkyard dog in him, man. Jason Tatum is, I would say, more talented overall, right? But he doesn't have that junkyard dog in him. He doesn't have that attitude, right? He doesn't have that, like, hey, I'm the man. I'm going to carry this team on my back, and you're going to come with me for the ride, right? Whereas Jaylen Brown kind of has that a little bit more.
Yep. And they had a fire sale, and what better to pick up some pieces than dangling a player like Jason Tatum out there? Coming back from an Achilles, coming back from a year-long.
Not that call.
Yeah. So again, I'm not trying to stir any controversy, but when you're looking at this big picture, if they get far, you may go, hey, maybe we need something else instead of Tatum.
Yeah,
I hear you. Yeah,
I hear you. But and a guy that's actually emerged too, who's been playing very well for them, is a guy that played for the Sacramento Kings, Neemias Queta. He is their center, and this dude, he's a machine he's a block. He can block shots left and right. He's a very good type of kind of dirty, not does all the dirty work kind of center, right? The Warriors need someone like him, bro. Right?
Yep. So someone who just plays defense, protects the paint. Just gives the rest of the defense like an opportunity to allow the player to get by him, because they know they got backup. To support him. Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah, but I got to tell you, Peyton Pritchard being put in the starting lineup, he's playing awesome too. Jaylen Brown, of course, he's been kind of being taking the reins of the Jason Tatum, what Jason Tatum meant to the team. Now he's taking the reins. It's going to be interesting. It's like you said, when Jason Tatum comes back, what does this mean? Are they going to try and trade him? It's a very good call. It's very possible. It's a good possibility, because he's still very young, still very talented. But we all know when players come back from an Achilles injury, they don't come back the same immediately. It might take them another year to kind of come back to the way he was. But everybody's different with that injury, because some people, like for me, the same injury happened to me, bro. That made me stop playing basketball, period. I didn't want that injury to happen to me again. So mentally, I was thinking, I don't know. I don't want to deal with this. And some players think like that. Some players come back and go, I don't know if I want to do that same move again. I'm going to take it a little easy because I want to deal with that again, right? And some other players, they come back and strong, and they don't even think about it, right? So
Jason Tatum, and as you were
guy.
saying, Jason Tatum is the less of the two tougher guys.
Yeah,
he's considered a less tougher guy.
He's more of a finesse kind of player.
Yeah, more of a finesse player. Does that translate into his psyche as well? You're right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just something to think about, and we'll see what's going on. I know Halliburton's been like trying to come back. Like yesterday, he's been not practicing, but he's been training and he's been doing some stuff. I saw the other day he's like starting to dunk and like all of this. So we'll see if Tatum's kind of pushing himself at the same rate.
Yeah, we shall see, man. But that's a good point, man. It's all right. So we talked about some of these up and coming teams. We focus on the Celtics. Let's go ahead and talk about some of these teams that are starting to falter. Okay. Now, a team that started out very hot were the Raptors, right? They kind of came back to earth a little bit, but they're still in the top 4 right now, right? Because they're still decent right now, and they just beat the Heat the other night. And speaking of the Heat, they have completely fallen. All right.
Yes, they have.
And what's interesting, it correlates directly with Tyler Hero coming back. Right? So what does this mean, man? They played really well without Tyler Hero, and Tyler Hero is one of their better players, and all of a sudden he comes back. Is that causation, correlation, coincidence? What is it, man?
I mean, it's always basketball is so much about chemistry. You got 5 players on the court, and even though they've played with them, you get into a flow with the 5 that you're using. Now you introduce a new one. I mean, I wouldn't say it's a little early to kind of say that he's that Hero's the reason they tapered off. I don't find it out of the ordinary that they kind of lost a couple games when he comes back as he's trying to kind of blend back in. But it is something to look at. I mean, when Jimmy Butler was having his struggles, the team was struggling really bad. And even though Butler wasn't really playing, they were still just kind of the vibe inside the locker room was all sideways. So, with Tyler Hero, he was out, and I'm not suggesting that he's causing the same kind of disruptions that Butler was, but he was out. Now he's back. What's his name? Wiggins, has kind of been averaging around 17 points a game. He's been playing okay. Ware has been doing, he has his offense.
Yeah, Ware. Adebayo.
Bam Adebayo's solid, So they've got a pretty decent lineup, and their culture is they're just a tough squad. So my guess would be that they'll have their ups and downs, but at the end of the day, they'll be in the playoffs, not even beyond the play-in game. They'll be in the playoffs, and they'll make some teams sweat.
I think honestly, bro, it's anytime you have like a player, when a team is vibing, right? Anytime a player of a caliber like a Tyler Hero comes back into the mix, there is an adjustment period still, because that even though he's a really good player, the team was flowing a certain way without him and playing a way without him. But now when he comes back, the offense kind of flows through him a little bit, right? And so there's an adjustment period on how to kind of deal with that, right? So I think what you're seeing is probably a little bit of that adjustment period of getting this guy reintegrated. But I think I agree with you. The Heat are a team that frightens me, in my opinion, in the East.
They're the team you don't want to play.
They don't want to. Yeah, exactly. They're well coached. And they just have a lot of good scrappy players, right? Heat culture is what they call it, right? They're just a lot of scrappy two-way players that play hard. Jaime Jaquez, dude, one of the main pure Latinos in the league, right? I mean, that's cool, man. And I love the way that guy plays. I love the way he plays. He just does all the dirty work. He's just, and he was out of the rotation for a while. Now he's back, man. But so anyway, so out of these teams, the Cavs, the Cavs are surprisingly slipping too. And they were a team that were number 1 seed last year, right? I mean, it might have been a hangover from last year, not, getting ousted in the first round, that maybe they just never recovered and they're just dealing with that. I don't know. But the Bucks,
so there's a lot of me, I won't say it now, but regarding this little squad, I got something that I want to throw out there regarding the Cavs. But
okay. Hold that thought, man. All right. So then the Bucks, there's a lot of trade rumors revolving around Giannis, right? There's a lot of teams that are emerging as potential suitors, and even ESPN has had segments about teams that could throw the best kind of deals at these guys with draft picks, young players and all that. The Warriors were one of the teams. The Atlanta Hawks, according to ESPN, had the most attractive offer that they can offer the Bucks, right? But the Bucks, we know they're not. Giannis has been hurt. He's been out. He's pretty much their whole team, right? And now he's kind of like questioning whether or not he wants to stay in Milwaukee, even though he's a very loyal player, right? So, but this, the Bucks have slipped, and then you already mentioned the Heat and the Cavs. Out of these four teams, who do you see recovering? Or these three teams, who do you see four teams? Cavs, Bucks, Raptors, and Heat. Which one of these teams do you think recovers?
So
which stays
so I want to be clear. When you say recover, do you mean into the top four?
I would say in playoff contention, because right now these teams are all below the bar for the most part.
So I would definitely pick the Heat just because of their culture, who they are. They'll be in it. They'll be in it till the end. I think they're going to be towards the lower half of in it, but they'll be in it. The one team just based on talent has got to be Cleveland Cavaliers. I mean, they've got the talent, they've got the experience. They're not a young team. They've got size, they've got defense. I mean, they've got some players that get hurt here and there. Jared Allen gets hurt. Hunter gets hurt every once in a while. They got some guys that come in and out of the lineup historically. But I would have to say it's got to be Cleveland. I mean, Atlanta. Did you mention the Raptors in that as well?
Yeah, Raptors, Bucks, Heat,
the
and Cavs.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the Heat are going to be in it. I have no doubt. And I think Cleveland will start to rise here, especially now the trade deadline's or the trade window's now open. I think that, a team like Cleveland's got to get a little tougher. Hint at what I'm about to say. But, I think they need to get a little tougher. Toronto still is figuring their way out. I mean, I think a lot of these teams could stay in it. But if you ask me, the two that I would put above everyone else would be Cleveland and Miami.
I agree with you. Those are the two teams. Yeah. But I think the Raptors are a team to reckon with because, they're a team, much like the Spurs, right? They're kind of ahead of the curve, right now, right? The Spurs just have extraterrestrial playing in the NBA with Wembanyama, right? But then, they're all young and, most of them are young and dumb, right? I mean, De'Aaron Fox is not, he's a vet. So is Harrison Barnes. But for the most part, everybody else, except for maybe Luke Cornett, everybody else is pretty much young and up and coming, right? Stephon Castle. You got one of the Champagnie twins.
Champagnie and
one of the Champagnie twins. Wembanyama. You got Dylan Harper, right? You just have a bunch of young bucks that are still trying to figure out what they really are in the NBA, right? So the same thing can be said about the Raptors, for the most part. Except for Brandon Ingram's been in the league for a while. You got Scotty Barnes, who's been in the league for a while. Emmanuel Quickley, but they're still kind of relatively young, especially as a cohesive unit, right? They have a bunch of have a bunch of misfit toys put together and actually put together a pretty good squad. So I would say the Raptors are another team to kind of watch out for, in my opinion.
Yeah. I agree.
All right, brother. So let's go ahead and dovetail to the West, man. All right. So these are the teams that right now are hot in the red. Okay, that's why they're red hot, although white is hotter typically, right? But we have the Nuggets, the Thunder, the Lakers, the Spurs, the Wolves, and the Grizzlies. All are hot. They're at least 7-3 or better in the last 10. Right now, we know OKC. We've talked about OKC. There actually last week's episode is predominantly about freaking the Thunder. Right? We know how good they are. The Nuggets, we covered them too. Right? The Nuggets, they have an all-world center. They have a really good point guard in Jamal Murray, and they have a bunch of good supporting cast. And they're doing all this without Aaron Gordon. All right, Aaron Gordon hasn't played in quite some time. They're a problem. The Lakers are the ones that really surprised me. I still don't understand how they are as good as they are. I mean, they are playing pretty damn well, man, considering, right, that they really are only comprised of really two big players for the most part, but all the other parts seem to be working well together. Got to give a bravo to JJ Redick for making that team work. We talked about the Spurs. The Spurs are, up and coming team, probably ahead of the curve, right? But then the Wolves, man, the Wolves are back, dude, with the vengeance, and they're doing this without, Anticlaus, bro.
Yes,
doing this
without me,
Anticlaus, and they've been taking players out without him, teams without him, right? So, and then the last but not least are the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies were kind of a forgotten team, and now they're out of the nowhere. They're starting to win again, right?
Yeah.
And so out of all of these teams, who do you believe in and who do you not?
Okay, so the ones that I believe in are going to be the Nuggets and the Thunder. I mean, those are just flat out gimmies.
Okay.
Right. The Grizzlies are the ones that I don't believe in.
You don't believe it? It's just a mirage of the sun.
Well, it's not only a mirage, but look, two of the wins in that 7 were against the Clippers. The Clippers are horrible. I mean, they are just absolutely horrible right now. Another win was against the Trailblazers, which is a competitive team, right?
Right.
Then you got wins against the Kings, the Pelicans, the Mavericks, the Kings again. I mean, these are teams that are not
They should be beaten anyway,
they're
right?
not cream of the crop. So
Yeah.
so to me, that's why I'm not getting too excited about that particular record. The Wolves are an interesting case because again, we just got done talking about Tyler Hero. The Miami was playing well, then Tyler Hero comes back, then they have a blip. Is it a big blip? Is it a short blip? I think we may see something similar with the Wolves as well. Ant-Man's not playing right now, then he comes back. Ant-Man's the guy that they go through.
Yeah.
They gotta figure this out. I was watching Dillingham play a little bit. He's a little very offensively focused.
Yeah.
He is
Yeah.
very offensively
Yeah,
focused.
yeah.
How
Yeah.
is that going to play when Ant-Man comes in? Is he going to defer? How's that dynamic going to play? And then the Lakers, they are interesting. They've been winning, but if I'm not mistaken, I was looking at it the other day. Their defense is not good. I mean, their defensive numbers are pretty bad.
So
And
I can tell you right now that from a defensive rating,
and I'm talking since LeBron's been back.
Okay, so defensive rating, they're 20th in the league. Okay, at 117.66. You compare that with Oklahoma City at 104.78. Okay,
Correct.
117.66 versus 104.78.
Yeah.
Okay, that's first to 20th, right? Now, if you look at overall net rating, the Lakers are 13th best in the league at 1.66. So they outscore you by 1.66 points per 100 possessions, right?
Correct.
That tells you that they're in close games, but they're winning these close games, right? It also tells you that they're a good team if you're winning a bunch of close games too, right?
Sometimes, yes, but that also means those close games, they're a coin flip.
You can go either way.
Yeah, they can go either way, and you and I know that when it comes time to postseason, and when you start playing the tougher teams, defense is where you're really going to cut your teeth. And them being ranked, they got to bring that up. You and I called it. You got to be above the Mendoza line, which is, to me, the 15th ranked team. You can't be lower than the 15th ranked team on either offense or defense. They're kind of the opposite of the Warriors. The Warriors defensively, I want to say, are in the 7th or 8th slot. And then offensively, they're in the 22nd, 23rd. They might have been picking it up recently with the 2 games.
The Warriors are fourth defensive rated.
Yeah. Okay, they're higher than Yep.
Oh no, this is surprising. And they're 14th net rating below the Lakers. The Lakers are 13th. Warriors are 14th.
Yeah.
Right. Net rating.
Right. Net rating. Yep. Yeah. So what I'm saying is, the Lakers they're going to compete because they have some talent. But I think when it comes to like postseason, if the defense stays the way it is, they're not. I don't believe in them. And then the Spurs, dude, that's a wild. I mean, dude, if they're on, they're scary.
For sure.
Like win the championship, scary.
Yeah, I agree.
To me, it's not. To me, it's just about their youth, their experience, and how they can hold their composure together when the pressure's on. That's really for me, and they'll get better at that. I already see Wembanyama, like, he's much more confident in situations like now than he was before. Like, give me the ball, and he's kind of talking a little smack, and you can see just on his face that he's more comfortable when things get tight. And just with him alone, they'll move forward. And if they're able to gain their confidence as a team, then the sky's the limit for them. I mean, proof that they beat OKC.
Exactly. So that begs the question. I'm going to come back to that previous little caption. But since we're talking about the Spurs, are they a bigger threat to the Thunder than the Nuggets? Let me ask you that question.
If we're talking puncher's chance, yes. If we're talking just overall systematically, no, I think the Nuggets are a bigger threat.
Okay.
But the Spurs got a puncher's chance.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I agree with you, man.
Yeah.
I agree with you. And for me, I think the ceiling is higher with the Spurs.
I agree.
Right? Compared to the Nuggets. The Nuggets are who they are. They're a very disciplined, defensively disciplined team, and offensively, they're like otherworldly. They're number one offensively, even over the freaking OKC Thunder. Okay, so they're very good offensively, right? It's just they're gonna win. They're gonna live or die by their defense. That's their ticket. If they can play defense at a high level, they're gonna be a problem, right?
But that's the problem, Eddie. Older tired legs in like Aaron Gordon, and even though the point guard there hasn't been as hurt as much, isn't old. He's been hurt a lot, and that's where you see the result of age is on the defensive end. And I question whether they can ramp it up more than they need to, when the time comes. Their defense is where it's going to suffer.
So I'll tell you this, net rating wise, okay?
Yeah.
The Denver Nuggets are third in the NBA, okay? They're at 9.6.
Correct.
So first being the Oklahoma City Thunder at 16.73. That's ridiculous.
Yep.
The Rockets are at 9.9. Denver Nuggets are 9.6. The San Antonio Spurs are 8th at 4.55. All right. So from a defensive rating standpoint, we have the San Antonio Spurs at number 14. Okay.
Yep.
You're at 114.45. The Denver Nuggets are 18th. So there it is, man. All right.
Yeah.
Defensively, the Spurs are better than the Nuggets, right?
Yes.
But offensively, the Nuggets are superior over the Spurs. All right. So, like I said, they're going to live and die by their D. All right. Their D is going to dictate whether or not they go far or not. These are the Nuggets. Now, again, the ceiling is a lot higher for the Spurs. So, in my opinion, I think for that reason, if by the end of the season or towards the end of the season, if they are healthy and all of these young bucks got all this experience, I think they're a bigger threat to me.
Okay. All right.
Right now. No, right. Yeah.
No, so I'm not going to argue with that.
Right. So let's get back to this before we go on and dovetail to our next segment. All right. Yep. So the ones in white, Clippers, Warriors, Suns, all these teams are not hot in the last 10. All right. They're all 4 and 6 or worse in the last 10. So which of these teams do you think recovers?
So I don't want to be a homer, but of those three, the one that has the best chance is the Warriors. But I'm going to be honest with you, Eddie. As currently built,
constructed,
none of them recover.
None of these three recover as constructed.
Yeah, none of them. The
Okay.
Suns they need more talent. The Clippers their culture's getting exposed. They're old.
Yeah. It surprises me. Like, this team was really taking the Denver Nuggets on the brink of elimination last year, right?
Yep.
And then here we are. They're like all the way down near the bottom.
Correct.
Right? What the hell happened, bro?
Yeah, with no signs of Harden's a year older, Kawhi's a year older. They lost Powell, who was a key piece to their success last year. So I just don't see them recover. I was throughout the first 20 games, I'm like, oh, they'll come back. Now I'm just seeing a team that's just like done. Like, just with this whole Chris Paul incident, he's calling them out for not practicing enough, having too many days off. Like, he sees it. He sees that they need to do more. And this is coming from a dude who's 40 years old, just about, or might be over 40 now. I don't even know how Chris Paul is. And if he's the one that's calling out your practice habits, like that's not good, bro. That's not good for the oldest guy to be calling that out. So I don't think they recover. And I think the Suns are building towards it, but they just need more experience. They need a little bit more talent. And the Warriors, well, we can talk about that in the next segment.
We're going to talk about that in the next segment.
Yeah.
Out of these three, you're saying the Warriors.
Yeah.
The Warriors out of these three are the ones that could recover, right? Exactly. But they need more help, right? Yeah. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
All right, man. So before we go into the Warriors segment, I wanted to go into our player greatness index.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, for those of you who haven't seen what this is, we're not going to spend much time on what this is, but in episodes 47 through 49, and for those of you who can't see what episode that is, if you look at the JJ Stokes interview that we had, which was episode 50, okay, that will be your where you can go ahead and look back to 47, 48, and 49, where we talk about the player greatness index. It's something that we developed, both Twan and I. It was Twan's idea. I went ahead and did the engineering mind and put it together and figure out what makes sense. I went ahead and put the system together to determine the real measure of true greatness, right? Now, we can use this for regular season, but this was intended to measure the players who are considered all-time greats, right? Like the Jordans of the world, the Olajuwons of the world, the LeBrons, the Kobes, right? Which one actually was the best amongst all of that? And we did that. So 47 through 49, you can go back and revisit that. We're going to refresh these, on a regular basis. You can kind of see where, those players rank all time using our player greatness index. So I went ahead and used this for this episode because I wanted to look at, the 5 or 6 players that are looked at as, contenders for Rookie of the Year. And I wanted to kind of, the NBA.com has their list of 10. I only did 6. So I went in the order that NBA.com had it, right? And in the order that NBA.com had it for Rookie of the Year, okay, according to NBA.com, they had Con Knuppel as number 1. Cooper
Okay.
Flag as number 2. They had Jeremiah Fears at
Hmm.
number 3.
Nice.
Cedric Coward at number 4. Derek Queen at number 5. And then VJ Edgecomb at number 6. This
Okay.
is NBA.com. All right.
Yep.
Now, if we go ahead and use our PGI index, again, PGI index measures players' greatness based on their stats. All right.
Yep.
But
The
we
point-based
went ahead-
system.
Yeah, we came up with our own point system on this, and we essentially, kind of weighed it based on what that player contributes to, essentially to a stat, right?
Right.
And then we also kind of put for this argument right here, we didn't necessarily, put all of the other accolades like, not rookie of the year, but like MVPs, conference going to the championship, how many championships they have, all-star appearances. That we didn't factor that. We just use all the regular season stats according to our system to come up with the rankings. All right.
Yep.
So rookie of the year, Colin Knuble was number 1 on NBA.com. Our PGI index says Colin Knuble is actually number 1 with a 162.5 rating. Okay.
Okay.
162.5. Cooper Flag was number 2 on NBA.com. And according to our PGI index, Cooper Flag is number 2 at 1.
Okay, so we got the top 2. We're in agreement.
153. Okay, so there you go. 162.5 to 153. That gives you a relative number of how well Colin Knuble was playing compared to Cooper Flag. Right? That just gives you kind of an idea of how well Colin Knuble was playing.
The two Dookies on top.
Exactly. All right.
Yeah.
Number 3, according to our Player Greatness Index, PGI, is Cedric Coward. Cedric Coward is number 4 on NBA.com.
Okay,
He's
so we got him a notch higher.
Our system, and he was at 149.1. Again, Colin Knuble 162.5, Cooper Flag at 153, Cedric Coward at 149.1. Okay, you can see that Cedric Coward and Cooper Flag are relatively similar from an overall greatness standpoint according to our index. Number 4 on our list is Derek Queen. He was number 5 on NBA.com. Derek Queen is at 148.8, very close to Cedric Coward, also very close to Cooper Flag. Okay. Jeremiah Fears was number 3 on NBA.com. He's at 143.7. Okay. Again, Colin Knuble is 162.5. Jeremiah Fears at number 5 is 143.7. He was 3rd on NBA.com. He's number 5 on ours. Begs the question, how is NBA.com determining how to go ahead and rate these players? Is it just the eye test, or are there other factors that they're measuring? We don't know. We're telling you how we're doing it, right?
We're don't know.
Through stats and you, like I said, 47 through 49 episodes. You can kind of look back and kind of show how we went and broke this down. We don't want to spend all the time on doing that on this episode. And last on this list is VJ Edgecomb, according to our list. He was number 6. He's at 140.3. He was number 6 on ours. He's also number 6 on NBA.com. All right. So the ones that correlate are Colin Knuble, Cooper Flag, and VJ Edgecomb. That correlate exactly to the way NBA.com and RPJ index went ahead.
You know what's funny, Eddie? Out of the list that you just discussed, Cooper Flag is really the only name recognition player. If you're just a casual fan,
correct,
watching this, the only name you might know there is Cooper Flag.
Yep.
And what's interesting is that our system was pretty close to their system.
Yeah.
If you go back and look at some of the other episodes that we did, where now name recognition, LeBron versus Jordan, Kobe versus LeBron. Now, when you start getting into people that are fans and people that are passionate, because if you look at our list, there are some significant differences in our list versus what kind of the NBA was touting them as.
Correct.
And so those changes were much more drastic than these changes, which at least tells me that the reputation of a player matters a lot.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, in these numbers. And that was the reason we created the PGI index, is to eliminate that.
The subjectivity. We want to make it more objective.
Correct.
Yes.
And so in this particular case, I think that at least whoever put that list together for NBA.com is looking at those numbers a little more closely than they are with generational and historical players.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you on that. I agree with you.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that Cooper Flagg was highly touted as the number one pick, and he is a really good player, man. He's actually getting way better now, right? I wouldn't be surprised, down the line that he overtakes Con Knuppel. I mean, Con Knuppel, both of these guys are starting, okay, and they started from almost day one. So, but it's interesting to see that the two Dukies are at the top, like you already mentioned, right? And VJ Edgecombe, he's the one who gets all the highlights, right? You're thinking, man, this guy, because we were thinking VJ Edgecombe was the guy, rookie of the year, and he was like standing out big time. And then, like, you look all the numbers, he's actually, is a little less than these guys from an overall performance standpoint. So it's interesting.
So, Eddie, I have a question for you that may change what I just said, and I didn't get an appreciation for whether you did it. Did you run our PGA against their whole top 10 and we matched the same 6 for 6? Or did you only do the 6?
Only did 6.
Okay. So then it is possible that someone in those other 4 could have overtaken.
Not the top. I don't think so. No, because I started seeing the drop off big time.
Okay, it was a significant drop off after.
Yeah, it started significantly dropping off. So I'm like, I'm only going to go to 6, right?
Gotcha.
So so right now, as it stands, in 27 games into the NBA season, Con Knuppel is the rookie of the year according to our Player Greatness Index and according to NBA.com. Okay. Right? Yeah. Let's go to the MVP. Okay. Now,
here we go.
According to NBA.com, and this is the order that they have it right now. They have Nikola Jokic first. They have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander second. They have Luka Doncic third. They have Cade Cunningham fourth.
Ooh.
They have Jalen Brunson at number 5, and then they have Jaylen Brown at number 6.
Wow. Okay.
Interesting, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you want to looking at our PGI index, our Player Greatness Index. Okay, according to relatively speaking, Con Knuppel's 162.5, right? Nikola Jokic 188.3. You can see like a huge delta right there, bro.
He's a monster, dude.
188.3. Okay, so he's first. Okay, according to our Player Greatness Index.
Yep.
Second guy, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 183.2. Not far off, but he's still 5 basis points lower than Nikola Jokic.
Yep.
Number 3, according to our list, is Luka Doncic at 169.9. Again, Con Knuppel's 162.5. Luka Doncic is at 169.9.
Okay, so significantly lower than Shai, who was at 183.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And 188 with Nikola Jokic.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. Now, according to our list, Jalen Brunson is number 4, and he's at 165.2. He was 5th on NBA.com,
but 4th on ours.
He's 4th on ours.
Yep.
Number 5 is Cade Cunningham. 163.1 is the rating on our PGI index, and that he was 4th on NBA.com. He's 5th on ours. And then the one that correlated, we have 3 of them that correlated on the MVP. Jaylen Brown, 160.9, and he's 6th. What's interesting, though, is that Jaylen Brown, being an MVP candidate, had a PGI index of 160.9. Con Knuppel has it at 162.5.
So you could argue that Con Knuppel should be in that slot, not Jaylen Brown.
You could, if you use our system as the determining factor, yes.
Yeah.
But, they're not going to look at it because the Charlotte Hornets, they're not that good of a team, right?
No, of course, because they don't look at the stats. They look at also the record, what they're doing. Celtics are a surprising team right now. He's carrying them. Yeah, no, I get it. You know.
So, interesting, right? Interesting.
It is. Very interesting.
So I'm going to do this, on a regular basis when it makes sense. We're not going to do it every episode, right? But I'm going to keep doing this. We have our little rookie watch segment where you kind of talk about net rating, the team that has the best net rating on, you went over that's going to be your topic in your segment. Yep. And then I go over the rookie watch where we kind of look at everything from analytics, minutes per game, points per game, all that stuff and compare it to NBA.com. This is kind of a supplemental thing to that, right?
Yeah. Okay,
we'll go ahead and do this, not at the same time as that when we're doing that, but just at another cadence that's, after when we do those other segments. So, all right, man. So now we got, 45 minutes into it, man. And this is we want to keep it at 45 minutes to an hour, but we're going to go ahead and dovetail to our last segment. All right. And this is our weekly Warriors segment, bro. All right, now the talk for those of you who are local here, okay, in the Bay Area
Yes.
or in Northern California,
Or
if
our
you
Warriors
tune in-
fans.
if you tune in, or Warriors fans, if you tune into local radio talk, man, this thing blew up this morning where, there was a fan who wrote in and got Joe Lacob, and Joe Lacob is the owner of the Warriors along with Peter Guber, right? But this fan got Joe Lacob's personal email address and sent him an email complaining about the Warriors and complaining about Jimmy Butler, just complaining, right? And wants to know,
his complaint was Jimmy Butler's playing out of position because we
Yeah.
don't have size.
Yeah.
Does Curry have to score 50 points a game for us to even be in
To win.
contention to win a game?
Yep.
So those are basically his biggest beefs, that
Yep.
we're undersized and that we rely too much on Curry.
Yep.
Go ahead, continue. That was,
So Lacob replied with the following quote: "You can't be as frustrated as me. I am working on it. It's complicated. Style of play, coach's desires regarding players, league trends. Jimmy is not the problem." Bro, there's a lot to unpack there, bro. A lot.
It was a very short sentence with a lot to unpack.
A lot
I
to
agree.
unpack. All right.
We could have spent an hour on that response. Easily. Spent an hour
Easily.
on that response.
But we're not going to be able to do that. But
No,
to me,
I know.
when I first sent this to you, bro, to
Yes.
me, it was a resounding, it was resounding that he was pointing the finger at the coaching staff. To me, when I read this, right? To me,
Yes.
because coaches' desires regarding players, okay, league trends, interesting. Those two sentences right there, and of course, style of play. Those three right there point to the freaking coaching staff, right? And league trends tells me that, okay, and we've talked about this in past episodes, bro, where I'm saying I think Steve Kerr's offensive read and react system has become passe now, bro. People have figured it out, right? And he hasn't adjusted.
Yeah.
We became too perimeter oriented, right? We weren't cutting to the basket. We started doing that, recently, but then we kind of lost ourselves again. And, it comes down to, do we have enough talent, really, right? Do we have enough talent? And that's one of the things that I have on there as a question, right? So that was my read on it. What was your read on the response from Joe Lacob?
So my read was, so there's a couple things here that I took into consideration. Number one, for those that don't know, Steve Kerr's on the final year of his contract.
Yep.
Okay, that's number one. Now, for Joe Lacob to make a response at all, he's got to know that this is going to go out there. So to me, his response isn't so much about response as it is sending a message to someone.
Yeah.
Right? He's sending a message to someone. The belief is that it's Kerr, and I do believe big finger is it Kerr, but I think there's a small finger pointing at Mike Dunleavy as well, right? Because if we're to believe that, when Mike Dunleavy got Jimmy Butler, and so there's been a show from the organization that Mike Dunleavy is the one making these decisions. Now I know he doesn't make them alone, but he's the one. And my biggest gripe around this is around the players, right? The style of play.
Yeah.
We have to play the style we play because we're undersized.
Yes.
We are severely undersized. And in order to offset that we have to be able to shoot the lights out. Now, we've got one player that can do it.
Yes.
Curry. And then we've got a bunch of other players that are hitting.
Or streaky at best.
Are streaky. Correct. So to me, that yes. Now the part that really stood out to me was, coaches. What was the line? The way that the coach about the players?
Oh, it says coaches' desires regarding players.
Correct. So to me, that means one of two things. It means number one, that he listens to his veterans as to who he should play.
Okay.
Right. Or two, he is punishing players that should be playing for whatever his reasons are. So to me, that's the way that I read it. It's one or the other. I don't think it's both. I think it's one or the other. And in this sense, if it is Kerr listening to the veterans, a la Draymond, a la Jimmy Butler, a la Steph Curry, I think that's a mistake. I don't think he should listen to them. I mean, I think he should take what they take into account.
Yeah, take it into account, but don't go abide by it. Right?
Correct, but I don't think he should be listening. If it's the other, and we can get into it. You and I last week were hollering about Pat Spencer and giving him an opportunity. Then he plays and he starts to look pretty much like everybody else that was out there. It looked a little lost. It was one game,
One game.
Granted, but that's the problem, that Kerr has 3 guys, and I'm going to go 2.5 guys, but he's got 3 guys that are there, and then a bunch of other just replaceable parts.
Yeah, I agree with you.
A bunch of replaceable parts. And what's he supposed to do with that?
I hear you, man. But the thing is that my big gripe about Kerr, and this is me being a former coach, you being a former coach, right?
Yep.
My big gripe on Kerr is that he's not consistent on rewarding players for playing well during minutes when, maybe the game's over, right? And these other players show up and do what they're supposed to be doing, right? And Pat Spencer did that in spades, and that's when he became a starter, and then showed out very well for about 3 or 4 games, right? And then Curry comes back, and he was very excited about putting Curry and Pat Spencer in the lineup together, right? Very excited. 6 minutes later, Pat Spencer's out. And come on, man, 6 minutes, man. I mean, dude, it's an adjustment period. He hasn't played with freaking Curry, Give him a shot. I mean, why go away from him, when he had deserved to play more? And that's what frustrates me about him, is that he doesn't necessarily, he's not consistent in doling out the minutes. And I get it, bro. He's got a huge problem. He's got a lot of players that, are streaky, right? But Pat Spencer deserved it, man. And then you got Will Richard, who's been playing well. Now he's a DMP CD for multiple games now, right? Yeah. And then how do you keep these guys motivated to continue doing what they're supposed to be doing, and showing out in practice, showing out in games, and yet because of matchups and this and that, you're not playing. I don't know, bro. That to me leaves a bad taste in my mouth as a coach, former coach, but also I was a former player, and I know, when it's deterministic, right? When it's consistent, you're motivated because right? And then when you're in and out of the lineup, you're like, what do I got to do, bro? And you start getting really frustrated, bro. Yeah. This is exactly what's going on with Jonathan Kuminga, bro. This is what's going on with him, right? A lot of these guys are the same way. The guys are like Moses Moody. Bless his heart, man. I mean, he's been in and out of the lineup, and that guy has been true blue all the way through, right? And now he's being rewarded. We're not really playing that much very well. He's now being in the starting lineup now. He's now in the starting lineup for the foreseeable future. So that's what really frustrates me about Curry. He's not consistent. Yeah, how he rewards players with playing time. That's
let me ask you this, Ed.
Yeah.
So what I see, and I first of all, I agree with your position. But what I see is we have a cross section of talent versus attitude. Okay. Kuminga's got all the talent in the world, but his attitude sucks.
Yeah.
It just sucks.
I agree with you.
Right?
Yeah.
Podziemski,
his whole career has been freaking, yo-yoed, man.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. And we can argue whether he has a right to be
or not
or pissy or not. But what we do know is he's got a bad attitude.
Yeah.
I don't believe his knee was hurt for that long period of time.
No.
I think that Kerr went and told him, we're going to sit you for a while because you reverted back to what you were doing last year, and we can't have that. And all of a sudden, his knee hurt to save face. That, to me, is really, in a nutshell, what's happened. But then you have Podziemski, right? Podziemski is got a different type of attitude. He thinks he's more than what he really is.
Yeah.
And he's walking around like he's the bee's knees, and he's not. He's not. And so I think that Kerr is trying to balance talent with attitude, right? And so I think that he leverages Pat Spencer to show Kuminga and Podziemski, if you've got the right attitude, this is what can happen. And then when they start developing the right attitude, then he brings them in because they've got the talent, and he's got to tell Pat, even though you've got the talent, you don't really have the skill, to do this. And that's what I think is happening. He's just doing, you take Seth Curry. Seth Curry had a good game.
Yeah.
He's got the right attitude. He's a professional player. And all of a sudden, DNPs.
No. Exactly.
2, 3 DNP. Why? Like, I don't, and I agree with you. I can't make sense of it other than he's trying to weigh these two things. Attitude. You and I have been coaches. We've coached together. We've coached separately. And we all have this one player who's got more attitude than talent. You can put him in, but you're like, I'm not rewarding this attitude. And I think that's where Kuminga and to some extent Podziemski comes in. And not to mention, a couple of weeks ago, Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green were talking about we don't have the right attitude about defense.
Yep.
We got some players thinking that they're, who are they talking about? My guess would be those two guys, Pods and Kuminga, but I don't know. So they're having conversations about this. I'm sure they're telling Kuminga, and Pods seems to be a little bit better now. Kuminga's is going to start tomorrow or Friday. I think they play Friday. He's going to start on Friday, so we'll see how that goes. But this is an impossible task. It's just no matter what he does, we're not going to get an answer out of this because he just doesn't have the talent.
That leads right into my next question. What is the problem with the Warriors? What is the true problem with the Warriors?
Okay. All right.
Go for it, bro.
You ready? Okay.
I'm ready. And by the way, before you forget, because there's one thing that we brought up about the Cavs, I want you to bring that up now.
Yes, and I will. But to me, here's the Warriors' biggest problem.
Yep.
4 years, Draymond and Curry have been careless with the ball.
Yes.
And because of their talent, we dealt with it because they could make up for it with youth and energy and defense and all of the above.
Yes.
They had the supporting cast. So there has been a culture where that's allowed.
Interesting.
And now we don't have room for that anymore. But it's still being allowed because Kerr doesn't know how. He doesn't know how to tell them, you guys ain't good enough to do this crap anymore. And I think
interesting observation, man.
That is the number one problem. Now, what exasperates the problem is that Curry is still talented enough to make up for that.
Yes.
Draymond is not.
No, not anymore.
Draymond is not. Draymond, to me, either needs to come off the bench or get traded. Okay? Now, to the Cavs, and I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I don't want to think of this as my original idea because when I heard it, I'm like, yep, that makes sense. What does Cleveland need? What are they accused of? Softness?
Yeah.
Not really having that backbone, that dog.
You're saying Draymond Green over there, bro.
Yes. We send Draymond Green over there.
And they give us Jared Allen.
Jared Allen.
Yeah, you were going to say that.
Because what we need is size. We need is size. Maybe even take Hunter. He's a 3-and-D guy. Maybe it doesn't have to be Jared Allen. I know it's not going to be Mobley, right? And we don't need, and we don't need any of the guards. We just don't need that. So it's got to be Hunter or Allen. They get a dog, someone that can help them be more than what they are, and we get some size because we need it. We need it. And to me, that is a scenario where we can begin to do. It's still not going to help us get completely out. And the other thing too is when the Jimmy Butler trade was announced, you and I were not fans of it.
No.
And our biggest concern was conflicting attitudes.
Yes.
He doesn't really bring what we need to the organization in terms of things that are missing. And for a couple of months, we were like, oh, crap, we're wrong. We're wrong. He's bringing everything.
Yeah.
But now you get little taste of Jimmy Butler questioning the defense, yelling at Buddy Hield, telling him he's not going to pass him the ball. He's doing all of these little things because all he cares about is winning, and God love him. But that wears on you, someone nitpicking you and jamming you. And so I think there's some of that too. Now I think that if I had to pick between Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green, I'd rather keep Butler because I think he brings more value to the organization.
I would too. I mean, he is a better offensive oriented Draymond Green.
Correct.
He's not defensive oriented like Draymond Green, although he can, but he's not the same.
Correct. Right? But to me, the key factor, that reason that I would keep him is that he doesn't turn the ball over.
He doesn't.
And Draymond Green turns it over like he's allergic to it.
Yeah. I agree
You
with
know?
you, man.
Yeah.
But that's a really good point, bro, about what is wrong with the Warriors. And I like the fact that you brought up the historical nature of the team being careless with the ball.
Yeah.
And they were able to make up for that because of their talent, and they had a bunch of other pieces that was way deeper, you know, in talent that they have today that are more proven, right?
Yep.
So that kind of created this culture that Steve Kerr is not able to adjust to. He doesn't know how to, you know, tell his players to not turn the ball over. I mean, he's definitely trying to do it, but how does he enforce it, right?
Well, exactly. I mean, if any of us that have kids or have been a boss or a manager and you let one thing go away for years, it's really hard to start calling on it now. You know, like it's different now. You can't do that anymore. You know, and when it's, you know, when it's Curry, it's hard because he's Curry. Like, how do you tell Curry that? And with Draymond, you know, he's the kid or the employee that's going to go, what you talking about? That's always been a problem. Why does it matter now?
Yeah.
You know? And then you got to get into the fact, well, now you're old. Now you're slower. Now your defense isn't as good. Like, you can't do it anymore. But he doesn't know any other style to play. That's what he is. And we just can't afford it anymore.
Good call, man.
Yeah.
All right, man. So we are at an hour right now, and this is the last question I want to ask you. You've already answered one of the trade targets, all right? Jared Allen.
Yeah.
Who are some other trade targets that you think the Warriors should go after that would make sense? Now we're not going to get a quick fix like we did last year, and Jimmy Butler kind of took us over the top. You know, the only one who could really do that is Giannis, really, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And even then it's going to cost us too much, and it's just going to be Curry and Giannis and a bunch of yahoos, you, me on the court, you know.
Pretty much.
That's basically what it's going to turn into. So that's a no-go. To me, the two forwards over at New Orleans.
New Orleans.
Yeah. So those, you know, Herb and Trey, both of those guys, I think. But again, I really question whether we have the pieces. I mean, if I'm New Orleans, we already got Jordan Poole, who's turning out to not work out so great. We got Kevon Looney, who's not turning out to work out so great. Do we want two more Warriors that they don't want, that are, you know, like, what are we building here? The Warriors B team? You know, so I don't know if they do it, but if we can get one of those two guys, you know, I'd give up Draymond. I'd give up Draymond for one of those two guys.
That's what I'm saying. So let me ask you this: what about Draymond Green?
Yeah.
Podziemski. Okay, because now I think Pat Spencer's made him somewhat expendable. Okay.
Yes.
Podziemski and maybe a Buddy Hield. I don't know.
So
those three for Jordan Poole. Okay. Right? Because Draymond Green's gone. Jordan Poole comes back. Right? And then maybe like a Trey Murphy. Or a Herb Jones.
So I'm not against that, except if I'm the GM for the Pelicans.
You have to throw in draft picks too.
No, but here's the problem. I can't bring Draymond Green, who is gonna be very loud, into a losing organization. He's just it's gonna be chaos, Eddie. That's why I'm thinking someone like Cleveland, or someone like
someone's contending,
or the Raptors, or someone who has got a chance.
The Lakers, right? Yeah, I mean, we're not getting Austin Reeves, and I don't know if I want. Maybe we get someone like Rui or Vanderbilt, but anyway, not great, but okay. But that's what I'm saying is Draymond really has to be traded somewhere where he's going to have a chance. Detroit, the Pistons. You know, if we can get something out of them. He goes back home.
You know, but the reason Cleveland stood out is because Cleveland's kind of soft. And they're kind of slipping right now. Yeah. And they know that this is an opportunity for them. You know, Indiana's missing. You know, in theory, the Celtics are missing. Like, this is an opportunity. You know, they got a player in Jared Allen who I know I'm bringing up, but he still gets hurt quite a bit. You know, it's not like we're getting some solid gold piece. We're just getting some size. You know,
okay. Well, I got an idea for you. I'm not even throwing out numbers to you right now.
Yeah.
But the Detroit Pistons is actually a very good call. Okay. Yeah. So here, what about this one? What about freaking Draymond Green, Quentin Post, Podziemski, or Moody or Hield?
Okay.
For Jalen Duren.
Oh, they're not going to do that, dude.
Draft picks too.
Dude, you'd have to give up maybe 2 number 1 picks for that.
I don't know. I'm throwing that out there, bro.
No. I mean, if as a Warrior fan, absolutely. As a Detroit guy, no. If I'm on the other end, I'm like, no, thank you. You know, but if I'm Cleveland and I'm going,
throw Kuminga though, bro. Kuminga, Draymond Green.
That's not enough, dude.
And draft picks.
Duran is a monster, dude.
He is a monster. That's what I'm saying.
And they're gonna pay him. I agree. Look, yeah, if you can do it yesterday. I'm all for it. I just don't think Detroit would do it. But when I look at the Cleveland type, I'm going, I could see Cleveland considering that. You know, we're bringing a champion over. He's going to tighten up the defense. You know, we lose a little bit of size in Jared Allen, but he's hurt often. We got Mobley. We're good on that. We're good on that front. Yeah, that's a piece we could part with, you know. Or if you want to turn it into Hunter, you know. Yeah, I just don't see, like, you know, I'm seeing, and again, I don't want him at this point because he's freaking insane. But I can see getting beef stew for Draymond. But I don't really want beef stew.
Yeah.
You know, because it doesn't, you know,
it does less, dude.
But I can see that happening.
More valuable.
Yeah, I can see something like that happening. But
yeah, but he's way more. Draymond's more valuable than beef stew, man.
Yeah.
So.
No, he is. But I'm saying I could see something like that or somebody else with size. But yeah, with Duran, dude, we're not going to get him. You know?
I'm just throwing that out there, right?
No. I mean, another potential, and you tell me what you think. And I'm trying to, like, I know you're shooting for like diamonds, but I'm thinking maybe somebody like trade Draymond to the Sixers, who have some potential, right, and bring somebody like Andre Drummond back.
Something like that. Drummond isn't enough, dude. He's not enough.
No, I hear you. We got to get some other pieces around that, but that to me is that's where I'm thinking we're at. We're at that level with Draymond.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting, man. Interesting.
Yeah.
Dude, all good ideas, man. We are definitely at it against time. We're definitely over time because we try and limit this to 45 minutes, but we're at an hour and 6 minutes and we're going to wrap this thing up. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. We talked about, you know, the walk around the NBA. We talked about the Knicks, the Spurs, you know, the hot teams in the West, hot teams in the East. We went over our PGI index as well, right? So you can kind of take a look at that, tune in, and, you know, we showed you who are the guys that we think should be the MVP as well as the Rookie of the Year according to our player greatness index formula. Again, you can go back to episodes 47 through 49 that kind of go through all that. And then we talked about the Warriors, right? There's a lot of things to talk about. This email that was that was sent out by Lacob, right? And it just became the news of the town today. And then we talked about the problem with the Warriors, and then talked about some potential trade targets. And I thought this was a really good discussion, Twan. We are here every Wednesday live at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m.
I don't think we're going to be here next Wednesday, right?
We're not going to be live here next week. Good call. We're not, because it's Christmas Eve, right? So we're going to take the week next week off. But we're here live usually, except for the holidays, right? On Wednesdays. But thanks for pointing that out. Anyway, this is Buzzer Beaters. I'm Eddie Aparicio. This is Anthony Twan Corral. Merry Spriteness to all, and to all the good Sprite, right?
To all the good Sprite. Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, have a good Merry Christmas to those who celebrate Christmas. Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, all the ones that are out there. Happy holidays, I should just say, instead of all of those specific, you know, holidays. But anyway, happy holidays from us, from all of us to all of you and your family. Have a great one, and we'll go ahead and see you soon. Take care, everyone.